us, WayV. So we're more on like the international team. So we basically do promote in China, plus like globally,
other
like
parts
Japan.
of Asia.
A question that gets raised quite often in regards to WayV is, why are they singing in XYZ language? Aren't they a C-pop group? Why aren't they singing in Mandarin? And with the news of, and the subsequent arrival of WayV's 6th mini-album, Frequency, the tracklist has led to some discussion. 6 new songs, or 5.5 considering the title track, giving us a total of 3 Korean, 2 English, and 1 Chinese song. How did we get here, and what does that mean? Let's start with some context. If you're unfamiliar, WayV is a boy group under SM Entertainment. They're the Chinese subunit of the NCT project, a large umbrella comprising many subunits and members. WayV debuted in 2019 with the Chinese version of the NCT 127 song Regular. And before you yell at me, let's get one thing straight. WayV has sung in languages other than Mandarin since the year they debuted. The English version of Love Talk, their biggest song to this day, at least internationally, set a precedent even back then. But why do they do this? By they, I mean production. Why not market your Chinese group to China alone? I had this question and a couple theories in mind. One, the more cynical theory, is that it was just easier to do for Korean media. This, however, quickly gets debunked when we consider that Love Talk did not get promoted in Korea when it was released. It didn't get promoted at all, really. So on to the second theory. I guess we're going worldwide. After the release of Love Talk, WayV had a majority Mandarin catalog still. Their first 3 projects were all in Chinese, and Love Talk was a single, tacked onto a physical release of their second mini-album, Take Over the Moon. The next instance of music in a different language came with the release of their first full album, Awaken the World. Awaken the World has 10 songs, all in Chinese, but shortly after the album was released, we got some singles, a Korean version of the title track, Turn Back Time, and an English version of what I consider to be the lead B-side / promotional single, Bad Alive. This was in 2020. COVID was fresh, and possibly due to some political tensions that I'm not qualified to discuss, WayV had no choice really but to stay put in Korea. They seriously promoted Turn Back Time on Korean music shows, and this was really the first time they had done that. They'd done a few shows for Moonwalk the year prior though, and they even went back on later to promote Bad Alive. Bad Alive itself even shows some range. The song is primarily in English, but has lyrics in Chinese and Korean as well. WayV was slaying their rookie era. But one important thing to note, Turn Back Time Korean version existed, but it was not performed on television. Instead, the original Chinese lyrics were aired. Later that year, WayV was more officially integrated into NCT, and then they were the subunit to kick off the next cycle of comebacks, with March 2021's Kickback. Again, we have an instance where the title track is released in 2 languages, Chinese and Korean, but this time they're released simultaneously. And this time it actually matters. When WayV promote Kickback on music shows, they sing the Korean version. We see more of this trend in the summer with WayV subunits. Kun and Xiaojun release Back to You in English and Chinese, and Ten and Yang Yang promote the English language single Lolo. Things aren't as simple this time though, with Kun and Xiaojun receiving backlash for singing the Chinese version of Back to You on Show Champion. That basically marks the last time that WayV sings in Chinese on Korean television. Things get less simple that August for reasons I will not be discussing, and thankfully it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, I promise. Just stay until the end. In December 2021, WayV released Miracle on NCT's full group project for that year. Miracle is a hit with fans, non-fans, basically everyone, and it's a personal favorite of mine. And yeah, right, it's also in English. What's going on? At this point, there was some speculation about what direction WayV was going in next. The future was uncertain, members are separated, and now we're on the 3rd English release of the year. Will WayV be promoting as a global group? Unfortunately, we didn't get answers for a long time, but that's in the past now, so let's jump right to the next era. In WayV's new era, late 2022 to about mid-2023, we saw a lot of predictions come true. In what I consider to be their reintroduction to the Korean market, a true teaser of what was yet to unfold, WayV finally debuted Love Talk English version on Korean television. They went on K909, and it was there that they were called a global group for the first time in recent memory.
국내를 넘나드는 글로벌 핫스타 웨이비.
The global hot star WayV went on to release Phantom, an album once again full of excellent Chinese language songs. And on music shows, they promoted an English version of Phantom that will probably never get released. They also embarked on their first fan meeting tour since 2019, taking them across Asia and to Europe. WayV also set foot in the United States, performing Love Talk to thousands of fans at KCON in Los Angeles. It was at KCON that in an interview, Ten once again reminded us that WayV is a global group, breaking them out of the box of just being Chinese NCT.
Well, I think we would call us like global group because we do sing in Chinese, like Korean, English, and like possible like all the language too if we get a chance to. Yes, but it's very nice because we get to like learn different culture and then get to sing different languages around the world. Yeah.
November saw the release of WayV's second full album, On My Youth, a sonic departure from the sound that they were known by, but a welcome one. I'm saving my On My Youth thoughts for another day. What's important right now is that On My Youth was released in English and Chinese. No English music video though, just a performance video. I hadn't mentioned this before, but the previous dual language releases usually didn't get music videos for both songs. It was typically either or, with the exception of Turn Back Time, which does have a music video for the Korean version. They used the English version of On My Youth on a couple of music shows in Korea before touring China to promote the album. After waiting 2 years for Phantom and almost another year for On My Youth, I think as Wazenese we were all kind of shocked by the speed at which Give Me That was dropped in our laps. 2024 saw more big shifts for WayV. Now in their bloom era, Give Me That was released in Chinese and Korean, with music videos for both. Additionally, She a Wolf, a Korean B-side, was the lead B-side for the album and was about as equally promoted. The rest of the album contained Chinese songs, and I'm beginning to use that term loosely because there's a lot of English. But it did not stop there. WayV was gearing up to debut in Japan. If you've been paying attention, you'll realize that I forgot something. In May 2023, in the midst of the Phantom fan meeting tour, WayV held a special fan meeting in Japan. They surprise dropped a Japanese single, Welcome to My Paradise. Many groups promote in Japan, so this should not be odd, but even with the precedent being set for decades, I've always found it strange that NCT would promote in Japan and not just debut a Japanese group. And I mean, eventually they did, but it was after that when WayV actually debuted in Japan in September 2024. But money is money, let's not leave any well untapped. Truthfully, I think with the launch of SM 3.0, the beef with Hybe, the excommunication of Lee Soo-man and his annoying nephew, and in early 2024, the transfer of management from Neo Center to Prism Center, SM kinda cares a little bit less about the labels. WayV is active, and that's really what matters at the end of the day. This is a global group after all. They've said so since 2022. And that brings us to now with Frequency. In many ways, it's a reversal of where we started. Majority Chinese bodies of work with a sprinkle of English or Korean, to now a majority English and Korean album with a sprinkle of Chinese. But who is this for and why? WayV has support in Korea, but not enough to have an announced concert stop yet. And they've really ramped up promos there. They got their first win on a music show, but I'd argue that was more of a collective win for Wazenese across the globe. So is that it? WayV has fans in Europe, Latin America, the US, tons of fans in Southeast Asia. Are these songs for them? For us? Well, I've been lying to you. I've made it sound like the global group label was brought up in 2022, like only as a response to a dramatic shift in the group, but that's not really true. I did mention that there were whispers of this shift in 2021, but truthfully, WayV as a global group was their destiny from the beginning. In 2018, before they even debuted, WayV was announced as a Chinese group that would promote globally. It's been there. I think what stopped them from doing what they're doing now was a combination of things. COVID, poor management, other projects. The last time WayV had 3 releases in 1 year, before 2024, was 2019. I think this was the vision all along. It's a bit unserious to pretend like nothing else could have contributed, but really, it was in their cards from day zero. The hiatus may have allowed us to forget some of these things. I mean, I just learned about it myself doing research for this video. Language is one of WayV's main appeals. The members know and are learning many languages, which allow them to interact with groups of fans in different ways. One thing I've noticed, the built-in subtitles on WayV videos change depending on the target audience for that video. During the Phantom Tour, most vlogs were subbed in English. During On My Youth, mostly Chinese. And since Give Me That, mostly Korean. Not to mention, WayV learning performing songs in the languages of the countries that they visit. They're super flexible. In an ideal world, across the globe, everyone would enjoy music regardless of the language it's in, and so many people do. But still, I must admit that there's something special about fully understanding a song on the first listen without any translation. WayV have put in and continue to put in a lot of effort showing different sides of themselves. That's not always just about the way a song sounds, the genre, or the concept of a comeback. It's also about the amount of work that goes into learning a song in a language that is not native to you, in your second, third, or fourth language. And not only do they sing and rap in those languages, because just about anyone can do that. I mean, I do bad Korean karaoke all the time. No, WayV do more. They embody the lyrics that they're singing, and they have the attitude and the nuance to convey the emotion of the lyrics, and that's the true effort. I just hope that their efforts are rewarded. Thank you all for watching. I hope this video was informative and hopefully a little bit fun to watch. I went into this pretty cynical, almost thinking that WayV was selling out in a way, but no, it's always been like this. They were meant to be global, and they are. Go stream frequency.